Good morning, everyone, and welcome to well, I guess this is the first actual stream of the British Esports Association, as the first one was on Friday, but it was technically just a launch stream. So this is the first actual content piece we're going to bring you guys this morning. My name is Elliot. I'm your host, of course, and today I've got with me Tom Dore, who's the head of education for the British Esports Association. Um, we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to do a bit about advice and guidance, particularly concerning the lockdown. We're also going to explore some topics about kind of what games are interesting right now, what could be used to kind of entertain people, but educationally. And also we're going to talk about things that we've got in our parents' guide. So these are general benefits of esports, sorry, and everything that a parent or teacher or carer needs to know about esports if they don't already know. There's a few more things we're going to be discussing, but first of all, let me just introduce my colleague Tom Dore. Bear with me one moment and we'll transition. Here we go. Good morning, Tom. How are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, just about okay with looking at these same four walls every single day, but yeah, I'm actually quite used. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one for me, obviously, because okay, so there's people in the chat saying they can't hear you at the moment, so I don't think it's your end. It's probably my end. Excuse me, guys. That's technical difficulties as usual. I don't see a reason why it's not coming through, to be fair. All right, just bear with me a second, guys. I'll just go to a quick be right back, and then we'll figure this out for you. Hmm. Well, it was working a minute ago when I tested it.
How little you care about your audience, I think you'll get a kick from this. I got hit by a car on the way to work today. What? My 500.
Hello, 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 hello. Cool. Hello, hello, hello. Boom. Yeah, we're good. We're good. I think everybody's in the same position, going a little stir crazy, trying to do what we can do.
Yeah.
And just trying to carry on life as we can.
Yeah,
albeit that in different ways, I guess, to what we're used to.
you're all having to adjust quite drastically, I feel.
Yeah, and I think in this sort of situation, we've got to look at it, try and look at the opportunities as well, and try and remain positive. I just done Joe Wicks with my kids this morning at 9 o'clock, and so I think it's
It's,
that type of thing that actually, if you can take yourself out of the situation a little bit to look at the opportunities that are here.
what's that? What's
For
Joe Wicks?
Joe Wicks. Joe Wicks is a fitness trainer. If you haven't come across him, have a look on YouTube. Every morning at 9 o'clock, he is doing a AP, essentially a half an hour
Oh,
fitness
cool.
session. And I think he had over 200,000 live streamers this morning.
Wow,
And by the end of each day, there's sort of been between 1.5 million and 2 million people have viewed his stream.
that's amazing.
So it's fantastic. It's really good, and it's that type of thing that we should be encouraging, and we should be looking at for sure.
Other PE trainers are available, I'm sure. Yeah, but I mean, there's so many different things that people are coming up with really imaginative ways to be kind of creative and be socially interactive. You know, I've got every evening I've got people on my TV doing their dance exercise classes, and you know, I've got
OT Mabusi,
yeah,
good old Strictly.
yeah, exactly. And you know, so it's really nice actually to see kind of these inventive ways of keeping everybody actively entertained and physical, even though you're stuck indoors. You know, because it's such a really important point that you need to be physical. You don't think like, oh, it's just so easy. I can get up and stay in my pajamas or whatever it is. Wait till lunchtime. I might have a shower. You know, but actually, it's so key because you're missing out on all of that stuff you would normally do. Your little walk to the car or commute or the train station, whatever it is. You know, and that even if that it was the little physical activity. Say you didn't go to the gym every day. It's not it's not the point. You're missing basic physical activity. You're just walking around. You know, that is actually burning quite a lot of calories throughout the day. It's really important.
It's a release. It's a release of endorphins and things like that as well. And it's also a routine. It's important that we try and keep in some sort of routine, and you have some sort of routine in your lives, essentially, which is why the whole Joe Wicks thing is a very good way to start the day. It gets people up out of bed from 9 to 9:30, and so actually, I think it's a really positive thing.
And did you say you did that with your kids this morning?
Yeah, absolutely. Zach less enthusiastic than Eliza, it's fair to say. But yeah, he's out and about. Luckily, we live in the countryside, and so we've got a garden that they can run around in. So he gets his exercise in different ways. He's out in the front now, practicing his bowling for his cricket because obviously we can't play cricket at the moment. So yeah, not
that's
not
that's
not too
brilliant.
bad. Still other things for them to do.
Yeah. Good, good. Yeah, I've just noticed yesterday as the sun came out a little bit. You know, there's lots more people starting to come out into the gardens and just kind of pick a ball around or ride a bike or whatever it is. You know, but that's it's. I think it's more of a release for the parents as much as it is the kids. I think, don't you? Just a little bit of
Yeah, I think that part of the challenge for parents as well, well for us all, it's having enough space to be able to have our own time, a little bit of us time,
yeah.
a bit of private time without because we're not normally so enclosed together in on top of each other all the time. So and it's quite important to try and get that time, even if it's just reading a book for 20 minutes on your own, or something like that, to try and get a bit of peace and quiet if that's possible.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. You know, we've been thrown into this epidemic with so many new challenges that everybody's just got to hit and take on the chin. You know, and it's like being in the same room with the same people, not being able to go out and socialize with your friends. You've got to
Yeah.
entertain your kids if you've got them. You know, the lure of the fridge that just go and grab some food and just scoff it when you wouldn't necessarily have had a meal. But these kinds of things, I think everybody's taken to really well. We're on sort of like what, week 3 now, roughly, of lockdown here in the UK. I'm sure other people have maybe been in lockdown a bit longer, but you know, we've done pretty well, I think, as a nation goes. I think there are obviously a few people who are letting the side down, but
Yeah.
that's what we've got. We've got our people out there, policing the streets and saying that if this isn't essential, we've got shop workers who are being really vigilant about it, one in, one out, kind of all wearing their masks and things. So I think actually we've done a really good job of taking that on the chin. Um, but just going back to the social media side of things, I think I mean, I've never been a big social media fan. I haven't had a Facebook for 5 or 6 years, actually probably longer than that now. I still have one, but I only turn it on once a year just to find out who my secret Santa is, and then I turn it off again. Um, but social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all these things are becoming a better place. I feel part of the reason that I signed off of social media so many years ago was because I felt it was used as a tool really for people to vent issues publicly, and I didn't really like that. There was a lot of people going, "Oh, I've got this problem with you," or whatever, and airing their dirty laundry all over the internet. And I've just thought, I don't need that in my life. It's not positive energy coming from social media. However, in the last few weeks, I've seen some really inspiring stuff, and a lot of people are connecting in different ways that I wouldn't have necessarily thought, oh, okay, this is traditional social media, because I've just written it off. So I think it's actually turning us around really as a society on our online world in a way. Um, there's actually lots of things going on that are really, really great in terms of publicly doing something for the benefit of everybody. So, like for instance, Chris Martin from Coldplay did a gig live, from wherever he was, but for free for everybody online. It was just for him, really to say that I'm still doing stuff for you guys, even though we can't, you can't come and see me in concert or whatever. So, lots of these people coming up with really great ideas. Doing like, did you watch the Grand National yesterday?
I saw bits of it, and not that's time with just children time. Now I'm afraid that one. But I
So,
think just picking up on what you say about the social media stuff, I think there's a huge amount of positivity about it, and what I'm hoping is that to come out of this is going to be um, a more responsible use of social media, and more responsible media. Really, there's a lot of clickbait still. Certainly in the first 2 or 3 weeks of this pandemic, there was lots of really shocking headlines, and actually that isn't helping people's state of mind, or people's
mm,
state of anxiety, and people's state of panic almost. um, and it's an opportunity as well. I think look, I'm a science teacher. That's my background, and there's a lot of use of statistics. And what's going to hopefully come out of this is people's understanding more of the bigger picture of what happens. So, for example, um, just looking at the news today, it looks as though the death rates in Italy and Spain are starting to drop a little bit, which is fantastic news, and hopefully proof of lockdown. Um, in this country, the death rates are still going up, and that's what's being reported, but they're not necessarily reporting the other side of things, where admissions to hospitals are going down. So it's little things that actually general public will be more interested in hearing as well, or to get the positives, if there are positives. But you know what I mean, the green shoots
yeah, of course.
that hearing to help reassure, or help to show that there is some sort of impact. But yeah, look, social media is without social media, without the networks like, well, we're talking on Zoom now, like Twitch, like House Party, like WhatsApp, FaceTime, all these different apps and organizations. They're doing incredibly well, and they're allowing us to remain connected, which is really important, to have that socialization, even if it's virtually, rather than being able to do it face to face.
Yeah, and I'm actually super impressed, particularly with companies like Zoom and WhatsApp, to be able to cope with the load, and because obviously they've gone from a standard week of maybe having 500,000 users on their platform to suddenly 5.5 million, just all using their platform at the same time. And of course, a company like that has to be prepared to be able to take that amount of traffic. So actually, it could have folded a lot of companies, and I don't think it has. I think everybody's kind of prioritized all of their loads and their managed their systems properly to be able to cope, which is really good. And it shows nice adaptation. Really shows that actually they've got their priorities right, and have set out properly. Now, house party is an interesting one. This is the one where you can join somebody's like living room kind of whenever you want, right?
If I'm honest, I've seen it. My wife tried to use it with some of her friends, It's not one that I'm using at the moment, if I'm perfectly honest. So
Okay.
that's
Well,
not one I'm going to be able
as
to show much
as
insight into, I'm
as far
afraid.
as I'm aware, then, if you're using House Party, it's basically to say, look, look, I'm sociable now. I'm ready. So you're in the House Party, but you might be the only person there, and then you know next door or whoever can just go, okay, I can see you in the House Party. I want to also join, and then suddenly you're now talking. And it's kind of like
Sure.
that quick. You could just jump in and out whenever you like. As far as I'm aware, I think that's fantastic. It might be a little bit invasive if you didn't want somebody to join your house party necessarily, but who's to say we can't invite people in this time of social need. So
There's going to be a lot of there's different what people are comfortable with, isn't there?
mm,
And that's that sort of use of social media and getting everybody in. Great, it works for some people. For other people, it wouldn't work. But that said, look, uh, the ease or with which people are jumping into this is great. And moving forward, it's going to because it's forced people to use technology more than they would have done,
yeah.
and it's forced people down that route. And I'm potentially talking about people who weren't necessarily having to use it. People. Whilst my great uncle's in his mid 90s and he's the archetypal silver surfer, I know that there will be people of an older generation who wouldn't have necessarily been that comfortable with technology,
Mm-hmm.
didn't see a purpose in why would they need to use it. Whereas now this is actually forcing. So my mother-in-law's in the early mid 70s. She's all over House Party and Zoom and all this sort of stuff now. So it's forcing people to use technology. And then when the lockdown ends, when we move on outwards to the post COVID world, which might take another 12 to 18 months, 2 years, it's going to change the way in which people work and change the way in which people use technology. People are going to realize that actually working from home
Yeah.
is more easy and straightforward than more cost effective, more efficient, than maybe hiring massive office spaces.
Yeah, I think this is a huge turning point
Yeah.
in general society, particularly for big businesses. Those open plan offices with little cubicles and things like that have suddenly gone, oh, we've got 450 employees that are all working from home for free. Why do we need to pay this rent on this building? It is definitely
Yeah.
going to make a massive impact in our future. I don't think we're going to look at our society again in the same way post COVID. You're definitely spot on there. But you're just talking there, and I just want to go back to it a little bit about the transition from this society now to the post-COVID world. And I think that transition is probably going to be even bigger than the one we've just undergone here. It might not be as sudden, but I think the changes are going to be bigger, they're going to be more drastic, and they're going to be more long-lasting. But I think particularly in the world of business, the social side of it will be great. I can't wait to see the first pubs reopen and the mad parties that go on to celebrate. But I'm talking, long term here. 18 months, like you said. But when we're truly safe again from the virus and kind of figure out how we're going to stand on our own 2 feet again as a species, safely interacting with each other. So yeah, home working definitely a big plus from me and from us, and I do really agree with it. It's such a great thing to be able to do. This kind of thing you would not obviously be able to do years ago because the internet wasn't as prevalent, technology wasn't as good, your home PCs weren't necessarily up to scratch. But the fact that companies can take their rent space and save a load of money that way, and then they can of course provide all their employees with good equipment enough to work from home, their mobile phones, laptops, whatever it is that they need. So yeah,
And esports. Let's segue into esports.
of course, yeah. Go ahead then. Where are you trying to go with that?
Well, no, look, I think it's changing the way we work, isn't it? And that's been seen over the last few weeks, hasn't it? In terms of the way esports has come into public consciousness, more into public awareness, and even like the World Health Organization, for example, last year, the last 18 months,
Oh yeah, this was funny.
gaming disorder and very much gaming, too much gaming is a bad thing, whereas now they've come out in the last 10 days and said, oh, actually people should be gaming through the lockdown to allow socialization.
Yeah, I'll see if I
So
can find that image.
yeah, it's bringing esports to the fore. It's making more people aware of what our young people are doing. And because it tends to be that, doesn't it? It is a younger age demographic that is driving our industry. And so people of a certain age, or an age demographic, maybe, who are the senior decision makers, or the influencers, if you like, in a certain way, who haven't had an awareness of what esports is. There's lots of misconceptions, lots of preconceptions that we're having, that now is an opportunity for us to address, essentially, to show people that in balance and in moderation, that esports is a very good thing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, one of the things I want to touch on in a moment is actual educational games. Now I've really got to think. I've been thinking about this hard over the weekend, just ready for this segment. And I was trying desperately to find a way where I could not include Minecraft, but it is such a big game, and there are so many good things about it.
Absolutely, and to be honest, that was one of the first one I was going to mention. Whether it's an esport or not, we can. Well, it's not really, but in terms of a use of a game, it's brilliant. And what Minecraft are doing at the moment, any teacher or any student who's got a Microsoft Office login can use Microsoft Education Edition for free,
Oh, really?
which is phenomenal.
That's great to know.
And
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, so if more teachers and students don't know that, that's certainly a message we need to get out there, because the Minecraft Education Edition is free if you're logging in using a school email address, essentially, or a college email address. And staff can collaborate on that. They can set class tasks, so you can get all your classmates in there, building your own worlds. And all the inherent benefits, the coding side of things, the creation side of things, um, the digital skills, the cyber skills that young people are developing through doing this, as well as it being a collaborative activity. It's a great thing to be doing. Certainly, I've downloaded it for my kids, and I think it's an absolutely fantastic thing to be doing.
Yeah, I think some of the things that you can do in there are actually just mind-bogglingly out of this world.
Yeah.
I don't, I've never played it. Well, I've played it enough to know that it's not for me. But it's I've got friends who are really into it. They run their own servers and they have all these unique things going on. But I've seen some of the most crazy creations. You can actually build a working PC. Like your one functions in front of you now that
Yeah.
you're watching this on, whether it's a tablet or whatever. It still has the same processor. It still has modules that control the graphics and things like that. And they have constructed in Minecraft a working computer. Now that to me is just an incredible feat, that's really
Yeah.
interesting as well, because that's such an amazing, unique thing. Like, what other game can you do that? When I was first thinking about it, I was thinking, okay, Minecraft, it's a bit of engineering, it teaches you about building and kind of the way things work and gravity and weight and all these kind of really important maths. So, but actually, it goes so much deeper than that. There are tons of learning objectives within the game, and that you're not even realizing you're being taught. They're all kind of secretly, subliminally, just you're learning these things by proxy.
I think this is a good point to do a shout out to our partners at NASEF in California, because they're streaming as well, and they're doing some sessions on Minecraft, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing Minecraft challenges. Yeah, so they are setting. I think the first one they did was build your ideal lockdown environment. So you could log on to Minecraft and create your house as you saw fit. The most beautiful place you would ever want to be locked down in. Yeah, and they're doing all sorts of challenges like that. So yeah, shout out to NASEF, really really good guys. Obviously doing a lot of the same stuff we're doing, and of course we are hosting them as well when this stream ends. Yeah, I think they've got
Yeah, so I think esports fed, the Twitch account is twitch.tv/esports
That's
fed.
it. Yeah.
And people can find all their different streams there, as well as looking through our stream as well, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. So, but in terms of other games, because there's a lot of educational games out there, you can't just put it all on Minecraft's shoulders. But when a few years ago, I did a self-taught programming course, and one of the first things they asked us to do was play this game online. Went onto my browser, and it's called Lightbot, and it's just a small game. It doesn't take long to do or complete. There are different like stages to it, and it does get progressively harder, but it essentially teaches you how to program or how to think like a programmer, which I think is a really key skill Not necessarily, writing the actual code, but thinking a way round, a challenge that's difficult, um, by using, methods that you wouldn't traditionally think. I don't think programmers think, and as generally the rest of the world does. It's quite a unique skill, to be able to, figure out how to bypass things. So I've got a few more games like that. So there was like Lightbot, which was a great one for programming. There's one called Prodigy, which is like maths based. So you can't progress the
Yep.
level until you kind of solved a few maths based questions. There's all sorts of brain training games, but then of course you're moving into like strategy. Strategy games are obviously fantastic. We support them as well quite heavily with the British Esports Association. So I think
Scratch is another one that gets used a lot in schools for basic coding and things like that. That's something that certainly late primary school, early secondary school students use a lot in terms of programming and coding. So that's one to recommend as well.
how do you keep your kids entertained? Are you sending them outside, Tom, or are you putting them on games, or what is it that you're doing?
Look, I think it's all about balance, isn't it? I think there's a time and a place for screens, and certain time and a place for games and that opportunity. It's passive media versus engaging media as well, isn't it? There is a time and a place for us all just to chill out and sit in front of a film, sit in front of the TV, and let things wash over us. But then there's a time as well for us to really want to engage with what we're doing and what we're playing.
Yep.
My son's been playing a golf game this morning, that I downloaded, because you can't get outside to play golf, so we're playing it virtually,
That's
which again is
fantastic.
something that we're seeing happen around the world, isn't it? With the Formula One, with the NBA, with FIFA. Look, I think it's all about balance. It's important that you're getting outside, you're getting your exercise, following the guidelines that we've been set. If you have outside space in your house, in your garden, be it about be it a balcony, be it even just sitting by a nice open window to get a fresh breeze, it is all about balance and it is all about moderation. But now this is the ideal time for young people to be playing with their friends, to allow them to still socialize
Hmm. Hmm.
online through the esports world.
What do you think is like considered an acceptable amount of hours to be playing throughout the day during lockdown? Obviously, it's
Sure.
it's quite a difficult one. I'm not saying your answer is going to be gospel, but what would you suggest? Being a parent
Yeah,
and being in the
that.
esports scene, you've probably got more knowledge than most. So I'd be interested to hear your views.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? As a working parent myself, I know that there are times during the day that I actually say to the kids, "Look, I need to be doing this for 45 minutes. I need an hour on this work." Um, Especially that my kids are 8 and 6, so it's right. Here's a screen. Here's some electronic parenting. This is going to keep you occupied for the next hour. That's going to allow me to do the work that I need to do. That is a juggle that lots of working parents around the country and around the world are having at the moment. So, whilst what we've set up to this point as an association is that actually an hour and a half a day is something that is we are very comfortable with pushing, and with recommending in this time of lockdown, of being inside. That figure is going to go up for some people,
Yeah.
for sure, and that as long as it's still not affecting your life, your other parts of your life in negative ways, if it's actually providing a positive for you to keep you in touch with your friends, to keep people socializing, then if that figure's going up, then so be it. Whether it's we're not condoning playing till 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. There's still sorts of, you've got to maintain the balance within your life. However, I'm sure that those figures are going to be going up through this period of lockdown.
Yeah, that's really good points actually. Just want to say hello to everybody and thank you very much for joining the stream today, and welcome those in the chat. But yeah, no, really great points.
Swansea, GCS, Owls, Swansea, Gower College. Well done. Welcome to the stream.
Well spotted. Yeah, I didn't see that one. Yeah, no, some really great points there, Tom. Yeah, I think playing till late at night or whatever it is, unsociable hours is definitely still off limits, and not something that we'd recommend. but yeah, it is going to increase. We are going to see probably a few more hours a day from children, but you have to think about um, making sure that those hours that they are online, are interactive and productive. So,
Yeah, productive. Good, good,
so
good wording. Good use of wording.
yeah, so I don't want people to go, okay, right, I'm going to go and play this single player game now on my own for 4.5 hours. That's not something that is a good use of time. If you're going to be playing games, why don't you spend it with your friends, playing the same game together, having that social experience, merging your house or clan or whatever game it is that you're playing, doing it together and having those social goals, and then achieving the objectives online. So try not to. I mean, single player games can be really fun. Don't get me wrong, but don't spend all of your afternoons on them. Um, and so yeah, I think the other thing that we're talking about, just when we're talking about hours of play increasing during this time, is at the end of this session when COVID's no longer a bigger threat and we all kind of go back to more standardized routines. How how do we manage these levels of play that our kids or friends have got accustomed to? So if we go, yeah, okay, it's fine that you're playing 4 or 5 hours a day now. It's fine that you're socializing with your friends online, but then when it's all over and we can go outside again, is there going to be some kind of repercussions on that decision? Are we going to struggle with getting our kids to go outside again? Come um, a few months time or 18 months time,
Yeah.
however long it takes.
Look, I think it's going to be a suck it and see situation. I'm afraid, isn't it? The fact that it's a gorgeous day outside today. If this was happening in November, December, January time when it's dark outside and where young people weren't able to get outside, I think it would be harder. There'd be less reasons to be able to go outside, isn't it? Whereas when the lockdown comes to an end, or certainly this part of the lockdown comes to an end, it's going to be an opportunity to get outside, and it's something that like it's taking people time to adjust to the situation we find ourselves in. It's going to be going back the other way as well, because this isn't just going to be flicking a switch and it's all going to be back to normal.
Mm.
Things are going to be very different for the next 6, 12, 18 months. And so it's recognizing that, and recognizing that just because it's different, we've got to get used to that, and we've got to work our way into it. In terms of the actual getting used to not gaming so much, if there's other activities that allow people to engage in the social based activities, then that's going to take the focus away from the need to play esports. But once people realize that this is what you can do through playing esports, and the socialization aspect of it, and the teamwork, the being with your friends, then that's always going to remain. And I hope that actually, the midweek hookups online that people are doing, let's keep on doing that. There's no reason not to be doing that, and having a virtual drink online or whatever, or playing a quiz together or whatever it might be, as well as playing a game together. I hope that still remains, because that's been a real positive, that people you wouldn't necessarily have hooked
Yeah.
up with midweek, you're doing. And so that's been actually a real positive of this whole situation.
Yeah, I really think that these companies, the people who are making House Party, Jackbox, all of these social apps, they are going to, I think we're going to see a lot more of those produced over the next few months, not just from those publishers, but also from, new people who are thinking, okay, this is a really big scene now. We should get involved and then start creating a game from scratch. So I think we might see some really um, ingenuitive, no, that's not a word. Really new initiative.
Ingenious new things.
Ingenious, that's the one. Ingenious new things from people, bringing us new games, new platforms, new ways to socialize with each other and carry on like that. So, yeah, I do agree. It is good fun. I've had pub quizzes with my family
Yeah.
over the last few weeks, where we're doing. Last night there was a finger round. So, for instance, you could only answer the question. The answers were all 1 to 10, but you had to display them like this, depending on whatever the answer was. So there's no cheating, and there's none of this. You can't Google the answer because you're on camera. So
Yeah.
there's really clever ways of doing things. Intro rounds and all that. Yeah, it was good fun. So if we're talking now about esports and the games that we're playing, let's talk about the future. So this is long after, you know, our society's back to normal, and, you know, preparing for back to work life. And are we going to learn anything throughout this period of lockdown or this period of social distancing that's going to help us when we go back to work, when we go back to school? Are we going to learn anything through playing games? And if so, you know, what are we going to learn?
Look, I think it's an opportunity, like we said right at the start, it's public awareness. People are more aware of what esports is and the opportunities that esports provides to socialize, to get together with friends, to learn the team-based skills, the communication skills, the leadership skills, strategy, decision-making, problem solving, all those types of skills that people get through traditional team-based activities, traditional sports, drama, music, all those sorts of clubs. People are starting to realize, or it's becoming more publicly recognized,
Yeah.
that actually we can do these things through esports, and look at the communities that exist already and will only get bigger and bigger. If you look at some of the numbers that are coming out through Twitch in terms of the rise in viewership during these times, shows that people are becoming more conscious of this. And so, what I hope is that after we come out of this situation, that actually esports has more credibility. Essentially, is a more recognised activity within society. That misconceptions and preconceptions have been addressed, or are more people are more willing to look at it with an open eyes, and that we can really push the balance and the moderation angle of this, and it should be part of a balanced, healthy lifestyle. Not the be all and then end all, not the only thing you do, certainly not the things you're doing till the early hours of every morning, if you're having to then get on and live a normal life as well. So, yeah, it's more the public awareness and the willingness of a wider demographic of people to engage with it positively.
That's really, really good. So if you don't know, we've got a parents guide that's been released on our website. You know, you can go check it out. Um, it's under the advice section there, and obviously, of course, in it is so many good things. A couple of things we're going to touch on now, in a moment. But yeah, just wanted to say real quickly this adulthood transition. You know, from our students at the moment who are going to go through this as they're growing up. This is going to be a really tough time for them, and it's so difficult because it's already been such a vastly different society from, you know, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I could quite happily say that the last generation and the generation before and the generation before that kind of went through the same stuff up until we get to like the war. I think most people grew up, went through school, went to work, you know, and it was fairly straightforward and standard. However, it's changed so drastically in this, well, since the internet was a huge change, you know, so they've already come up learning all these brand new things, and you know they're all. I watched a young girl try and play a Game Boy Color the other day. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. She's trying to swipe the screen, you know, completely ignoring the buttons at the bottom. You know, so they've missed out, you know, on all these segments of life. But the whole internet and millennial and Gen Z or whatever it is, I'm not even up to date with it all. But they are unique because they have come through such a weird sort of path to get to adulthood, than than myself did, or people from other generations. So this COVID situation is going to put a real spotlight on the kids growing up now, because they're going to have a whole different way of thinking for their future life, especially as they go through university and then into work. I think we're going to see a large influx of, in the next sort of 10 years or so, of people going, you know, really forward thinking, you know, we don't need this, let's strip away and kind of go back to basics, because they've done this now as they're growing up. I think this is going to really affect their adulthood, and that's quite key. Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about real quickly before we go to the parents guide is the exams situation. Obviously, some people were disappointed, some people were over the moon, but I think generally it's well, in my opinion, it's a negative thing because obviously the mocks were a huge part of kicking me up the backside, as it were, when I was taking exams, and it made me study, for my real exams. But they've all been thrown into this boat now, where oh, hold on a minute, we're actually going to be graded on those. Oh, maybe I should have paid attention. Is it going to make a huge effect, knock on effect? I mean, you're a teacher, so you probably got a bit more insight than I
Yeah,
do.
look, it's not going to be the mocks aren't going to be the be all and end all, because we know a lot of mocks in schools that students improve between the mocks and the actual exams. It will be a source of data for people, though. I'm afraid, and so for some students who didn't take it as seriously as they could have done, it will be an issue, I'm afraid. But it's going to rely on schools, and this is what schools and colleges have. They have years worth of data to show that actually certain students with certain abilities go on to achieve this. And so we, my school, for example, have 15 years worth of data from previous exams or previous year groups that we can look at and that we can compare and that we can actually physically show as evidence to the government. All schools and colleges have that now. Schools and colleges are data-led organisations, for both as a good thing and a bad thing. But what it means is that students should still, certainly in years 11 and years 13, people should still be working now. There will be opportunities to complete pieces of work that, again, can provide as evidence, that schools and colleges will be able to provide as evidence to the government to justify the grades that people get. So in year, look, it would have been a horrible situation to be in for year 11s or year 13s. It really is. However, they can't see students. You can't stop working now. You need to listen to the advice that your schools and colleges are giving you, and follow that basically, and complete the work that they're asking you to do.
Do you think this is going to change the way that? I know it's going to change a lot of things with the way we work, but do you think it's going to change a lot of the way that things like exams are marked?
Exam marking is, a lot of that's done online now anyway.
But
Papers are scanned.
do you think the way that sort of teachers are interacting with their students, and if we come up with a better solution now, do you think the grading system will end up changing in the long run?
It's going to force a lot of schools and colleges down the route of technology that they were maybe slow in jumping on board with, essentially. And what I would hope is that schools and colleges that have been in that situation don't then step back away from it once the whole situation opens up again. Um, we need to embrace technology. We need to embrace the skills that we are developing through doing this, and we need to look at the opportunities that this whole situation provides us, and carry on in that vein. Um, a lot of schools that were one-to-one device schools, i.e., where students had their own laptops or tablets, have coped a lot better with this
Yes.
situation. A lot of the issues that we're finding, or teachers are finding, is households, for example, where parents are both working from home. Maybe there's only one or two devices in the house that people can use, and so actually expecting young people to be online at the time that they've got a specific lesson just is not appropriate, because parents are having to work, or older brothers and sisters are trying to get online as well. So again, there's different things that need to be looked at there. But bearing in mind, we've gone from zero to everything within the space of 4 weeks. We're doing. People need a big pat on the back, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm just hearing myself on an echo, I think, on your laptop there when I speak. Um, but perhaps putting in some headphones would help. Um, just in the meantime, yeah. So I'll just quickly go back to this parents guide. So I mean, there's some really good stuff in there. It was written by us last year. It just details like the general benefits of esports, career prospects. How you can join a team, and how you can get involved in the esports scene. So, just a question for you, Tom, particularly about jobs, because I know a lot of people who will be watching this stream will be thinking, "Oh, how can I get involved in esports? What if my career, my work, won't come back? I'm on furlough now. Is that what it's called, furlough?"
Furlonging, isn't it? Furloughing. Furlong is certainly not a word I come across before 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. Me either. The one where the government's paying you right now, but you're not
Yeah.
working. So companies that might potentially fold or might ever not recover properly. So there's probably a lot of people out there who are thinking, you know what, I'd like to try my hand at esports. So, how do you get involved? What's the kind of advice you'd give to somebody looking to be interested in joining the scene?
Sure. I think first up, you need to. It depends on the game you're into, and certainly you need to have an understanding of the game and the communities that are involved in this. I think a really good place to start is BritishEsports.org and look at the advice and the careers section that we've got there.
Nice plug.
There's phenomenal, yeah, thanks for that. There's phenomenal information there that has been created over the years. Certainly, a big shout out to our content director, Dom Sacco, who's done a lot of that work. It's a phenomenal resource there to talk about different roles within the industry and how you get there. There's lots of interviews with people doing those roles. I think what is important to say is that it's almost like traditional sport, isn't it? I want to be a footballer, I want to be a rugby player. Actually, the reality of the situation is that most people won't become professional esports players. However, there's increasing numbers of roles within the industry or within linked industries that you can do. And then there's all the transferable skills that you can develop as well. The teamwork, the leadership, the communication, the digital skills, the tech skills, being able to run a stream, be able to produce a VOD, being able to set up a network. All these are massively transferable skills that we are developing through, or people are developing all the time through playing esports and through working with their friends as parts of esports teams. This is what's happening all the time. Those sorts of skills can be transferred to lots of other creative media, tech jobs. And one of the things that is going to come out of this whole situation is that there's going to be a massive focus on tech industries and infrastructures and things like that that allow people to work remotely using technology. So even if it's not a direct job within the esports industry, the skills that you are developing through doing this are still going to allow people to develop the skills that are going to be used in wider industries.
Yeah, that's really good. So I mean, that's coming from like an adult's perspective, or how I wanted to change my role. What do you think about the amount of people who are going to use this time to really focus on becoming a pro player? Obviously, they've got the excuse they've ever dreamed of. Oh, I can legitimately spend
Yeah,
hours indoors now. And mum's not going to shout at me. And I'm
sure.
going to really focus on getting to that top 0.5% or whatever it is that they're aiming for in their chosen game. Do you think this is a good opportunity for them? And if so, how is it going to help?
Yeah, look, I think it is an opportunity to allow people to spend more time doing the thing that they love. And if esports is the thing you love and there are specific games that you love, then this is an opportunity to do that. I think you need to, there comes a point at which if you feel you're good enough and um, your results are proving that in the leagues in which you play and the laddering systems that you use or whatever competitions you're entering, then now is a time in which you can push yourself to see if you can make it, to see if you can
Yeah.
you've got what it takes essentially. So try that. There's a plethora of competitions and different things happening now, isn't there, during this time? So use this time to enter some competitions and see how good you can be. And it's very much you need to prove that, don't you? You need to earn the stripes, if you see what I mean, to be able to prove rather than talking the talk and walking the walk. There's a lot of people who would claim to be very good at stuff, but actually it's the time to walk the walk as well. Through entering these competitions, you need to prove that you are as good as you say you are, because then that will then open the doors to semi-pro teams or the pro teams that now exist.
Yeah, that's really good points. So I think if you are one of those people who are thinking of doing that, potentially exploring your game to the pro levels or even the semi-pro levels, a lot of the things that these guys do already, is set themselves a schedule, have a routine, make sure you plan your day, give yourself a goal, like, right, today I'm going to spend 2 hours training and then I'm going to compete for, an hour and a half, and then I'll have a rest, and then I'll have, a break to do something social, etc., etc., etc. Don't just go blind into it and go, okay, right, I'm just going to commit the next 14 hours to improving, because you're not going to improve like that. You need to think about an actual routine, stick to it, eat healthily, keep hydrated, get some sleep. These are all things that affect your game performance. So make sure that you're adhering to the needs of your body at the same
So
time.
again, looking at the advice pages we've got interviews with pros who are talking about the training regimes that they use. Again, go out to some of the organisations, certainly the UK Excel, Fnatic. Go to some of these big teams, Spitfire, London Royal Ravens. Look at the stuff that these organisations are pushing out, and even individual players linked to them are pushing out in terms of the training regimes that they use and what that they are doing. So actually learn from the pros, essentially, like you would if you're going and watching a video with Harry Kane or that type of stuff, or looking at Dele Alli's free kick technique or whatever it might be. With traditional sports, same thing you should be doing with esports.
Yeah, definitely. There's a window here opened up, and I sort of assumed it would happen, but I didn't really hear about it until sort of the day before yesterday, and that is sort of online safety with COVID. So with everything, scammers are finding ways to kind of take advantage of people, and I've seen a couple of scams going around at the moment. Using COVID data, using that as the hook to kind of grab you and think, oh, hold on, I need to click this link. So please just be really careful with any information you get sent, or that you think might be a little bit dodgy. Just make sure you're using trusted websites when you're looking at this data and things like that. And this goes along, whilst we're in the same vein as sort of safe space online. Just think about the cyberbullying aspect of the internet,
Yeah.
and just being safe online generally. Careful who you talk to. Obviously, don't meet anybody that you don't know, because you shouldn't be meeting them anyway. But yeah, it's really, really important, I think, at the moment, just to be aware of these scams going on, and obviously
all the same rules apply, don't they, in terms of online safety, in terms of keeping yourself safe, keeping your information safe. Um, Even more so now that there's more people spending more time online at the moment.
Well, that was
So
it.
just everybody be aware of that and look at campaigns through organisations like the NSPCC or internetmatters.org, people like that, organisations like that, if you're not sure.
The thing is because we're spending so much time more online now, and obviously there are so many more people online. There's inherently more risk, because there's more interaction via the cyberspace that you would not necessarily have put yourself in those situations. So yeah, it's really, really key to keep on top of it. Thank you very much, Dom. I appreciate you modding the channel and posting these links as we're going through them. It's really, really helpful. But yeah, I think if we're just going back now, I just want to just quickly shout out about the games that we've got in the British Esports Championships. Overwatch, League of Legends, and Rocket League. Particularly Rocket League, because it's my favourite. But they're all fantastic games. You can learn a lot by playing them. I'd like Tom said, strategy, teamwork, coordination, and things like that. But I mean, our championships are now closed. We've got new ones coming up in September. But until then, we've got to have an online grand finals, which is going to happen in a few weeks' time, sort of towards the end of April. I think it's the 24th, 25th, and 26th. Is that right, Tom?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, really looking forward to the finals, and obviously all the participants in the champs. Big thank you for being involved, and yeah. So I think I'll just take a quick moment to say thank you to anybody in the chat again who's partaken in the champs, and those guys who are here supporting us anyway as the British Esports org. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's kind of it, more or less, what I had planned to talk about. Tom, have you got anything else you want to input?
No, that's good. I think just to shout out to NASEF again, our colleagues in the US who are going to be picking up the straw, putting out content like this throughout the day as well. When the US wakes up, and likewise we'll be streaming their content via here, and they'll be streaming our content via their platform on Twitch as well. So thank you to Garvey and to Kevin at Twitch for the support that they continue to give us as well.
Excellent. Well, don't forget to tune in on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock. I think it is. Is it 4 o'clock, Dom? Dom's doing an interview with Sheridan's, which is small business advice and in the legal side of things. It's not something I really know about, to be honest, at all. So I'll be tuning in, obviously, because I want to learn a little bit about it. But it's about kind of surviving this lockdown if you're a small business, and the help and advice you can get from a proper law firm. It's at 1 p.m. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to our socials. The links are all down below, and also to our newsletter, again, down below. And thank you very much for tuning in. Really appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Thank you.